show running here today, and super stoked to have you here coming to visit the show. We've been running a couple of these for the last few days and got a little bit of spare time on my sleeve, up my sleeve, and I'm here to answer your questions, your organic gardening questions, your worm farming questions, your composting questions, anything related in that area, which is quite broad, really. I'll do the very best I can. Now, if you're watching the rerun, leave the comments box down below. This is a section that my friend Matt Miller, who's been a long-term subscriber and come to visit me a couple of times, and we chat every now and again. He mentioned this to do an Ask Marty some questions. So I thought, why not give it a go? I think if that's what someone's asking for, I figure there'll be other people asking for it as well. Now, Matt's at work today, so I don't think he'll be here. And we're just sporadically running this trial for Ask Marty your questions, your gardening questions. And we'll see how it goes. And who knows, if all goes well and we keep rolling out like we are, we could be producing more live shows on the way. No promises yet, but it's looking pretty good. All right, so the first question I got recently from a subscriber was, should I use pesticides in my organic garden? Now, there's two questions sort of involved in this, and I'm going to sort of break it down. My first answer is no, because as soon as you start, when you're using pesticides, firstly, it's not an organic system, because you're actually going in and you're, I like to call it, nuking everything. You're just killing everything. You're killing all the good biology and all the good bugs and everything at the same time. Now, there are a lot of good gardeners that use things like neem and organic pesticides, and I don't use them myself. I don't even have any here. I haven't owned any for years. There would only be one time where I might use something. The monolepta beetle come through and started attacking my avocados, because they just they'll devastate a whole avocado tree in one go, and I'd have to hit them with some pyrethrum to get rid of that. And so, like a quick infestation that's going to happen fast, and I was going to lose my whole tree within a day. A good 6 foot tree by 6 foot can be devastated by a monolepta beetle in one day. So yeah, like when my avocados get bigger, I might have those. So I don't like to use any pesticides, even the organic ones, because they can also kill the other good bugs. And if things aren't performing well, what I do is I just get rid of that plant. At the moment, we've got a whole lot of tomatoes. I've done a bit too much monocropping, and we have a hornworm beetle problem, hornworm bug problem, which is a moth that comes in, a caterpillar, and gets inside the tomato. Now, we're only losing maybe about 20%, but that's higher than my 10% rate. So we've got to go through and sort that problem out. So at the moment, I've got a whole lot of basil sprouting here, which is a really good, I can't really see it there, but it's coming up on a whole lot of pots, and really good companion to break up that cycle so that tomatoes are all too close together. And we're going to be doing that and replanting a whole lot of tomatoes and restructuring and growing which ones grow best, such as like the prize, the first prize here. Shirley still wants me to do some of the dwarf aromas, which are like it's a determinate variety. And then we've got the Tigerella, which that is just finishing up now. That's the tiniest Tigerella. I've pulled off the whole one. That plant is finishing up and got new seed coming in. But we obviously will be taking seed from this and then germinating it and regrowing it locally in the area, so it just gets better and better and gets more eco-driven to this space and performs better. And we found those three, including the yellow the cherry tomato, were getting less attack, and we didn't do any companion planting with them this season so far. So yeah, hats off to that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the chat box across here. And as I said here, right at the bottom here, feel free to ask me any of your organic gardening, composting, and worm farming questions. I'll be totally happy to answer them for you. This is a bit of a trial run, see how many comments we get, how well things go with this, because we're not actually set on a certain topic, which then doesn't work in the search engines and things like that. But I just thought, hey, this is a great way to connect with you guys and help you as best as we can. So yeah, I'm all for just using things 100% organic, avoiding all pesticides altogether. If things aren't working, I replace it and move it or bin it, and grow something else that does grow there. And generally you'll find if you've got a healthy plant in season, you very rarely get problems if you're doing it organically. It's more if you're growing out of season, the plant's struggling, not healthy, things like that, plants get attacked by more pests. And pests is, or like in my other group, which I'm not in there hardly ever because it's a bit toxic, is the Small Space Veggie Gardening Australia group. I shouldn't say it's a bit toxic. It's just whenever I go in there, I get attacked, and it's my group. Yeah, they always talking about pest problems and answering and things, and they're always talking about chemicals and stuff like that. So it's not really up my alley. Anyway, we've got this one here, 18 Bees. Thank you, mate, for your support. I really appreciate all that you do for this channel. I really, really do. Thank you so much. And check it out, 18 Bees, if you're into the nature side of things. Awesome bee channel. My favorite in that niche area for sure. All right, let's go with it. Aaron Hopkins. Good morning, Marty. What are some good trap plants or companion plants for helping organically deal with pests? So it looks like we're moving into the pest realm. Now, some people are going to disagree with me with this. This is okay. I've trialed pest trap plants, and what happens is that we don't want to attract pests. This is the thing. This is where I disagree with trap plants. And generally, they're around the area of the families that are in the nasturtium family. And so there's a few there that trap like white cabbage moth, and then they will come and eat it, and they will consume it, and it'll affect their egg cycle. Now, they will also go for nasturtium as well if there's no other plants around that they can consume. My concept is better to confuse the pest as much as possible, create as many carnivorous pests in there, carnivorous hunters in there, to hunt and predate on these pests, and to create a balance. And that can be anything from a little skink to a frog to a bird to a praying mantis to an assassin bug to a lady beetle, and there's many, many more, I'm sure, that I could bring out. So I'm not a huge fan of the traps. I think last thing you want to do is attract them. You really want to distract them using more sort of companion planting techniques. Steer away from monocropping too much in certain plants. Like I said, I've planted too many tomatoes in rows this year, and we've got that problem's turned up. Should have known better. Didn't plant enough companions with it and create that separation. But we're still doing okay. But it just means that we're going to have to pull some out and do some trimming and pruning and really kick into it. So great question. Hopefully that's answered, Aaron Hopkins. Looking at the companion planting, look at planting in threes. Create height stages, color variations, a space where the plant, where the insect sees the colors, because plants radiate colors, and the plants will radiate a color spectrum, and they can't see that whole color spectrum. When they land on one of the plant, so like I've done with tomatoes in a row, the horn beetle's got in, the hornworm's got in there, and he's got, lays a little egg in here. I've missed him. It's gotten out, it's crawled across to the other one, or got him off and flew over to the other one, however they do it, and move from plant to plant to plant, and then you end up with a bit of an infestation. So we want to create that in-between barrier where they can't travel to and from. So hopefully that's answered that quite well, and that you've got something out of it. Now, a few people will be commenting and saying g'day to each other and stuff like that. Happy for you guys to do that. If you've got a question, put a big Q there. That helps me go between you guys chatting and the whole thing. And so it's awesome to be here and answer the first really great question. So 18 bees. I have a lot of ladybugs and praying mantis in my garden. I'll see an explosion of pests when they quickly die down with the help of the predators. Yeah, so what we want to have is we want to have a balance. We've got a balance of predators and a balance of the pests as well, because if there's no pests there, the predator's got nothing to eat. But when they have got enough to eat, and we've got this slight balance. As I said, we lose a few crops here and there and bits and pieces, but we don't have to ever deal with pesticides at all. And we know exactly what food is coming in our plant, into our kitchen. And when the better we take care of our plants, and the healthier they are, the less chance of pest attack. When you have a really healthy plant, you get a strong cell wall, which creates a thicker stem, and it means sap piercing bugs can't get through it. It's like hard rock to them, and they'll go somewhere else where it's a bit more struggling, and they'll find a weak spot and get in there and go for it. So we want to produce good sap flowing plants, strong cell wall, using compost, worm farming, organic gardening techniques to get those best results. All right, so let's move on to the next one. What is the best mulch and how thick should it be applied? Another great question here. I'm loving this so far. Now, it depends on where you are and what you want to achieve. If you're building soils, you want to use light, fluffier mulches. You can use lawn clippings as long as there's not too much weed in it, and you don't let it get too compacted. Otherwise, the water just runs off and it becomes anaerobic and all that stuff. But the favorite one that I like here for building soils quickly would have to be the organic sugarcane. Unfortunately, it comes in a plastic bag that mostly around the place, but we do have one locally that I can buy in a bale for $9. They're twice as big as the other ones, but it's thicker stuff. Doesn't break down as fast. So what we want to do is we want to apply thick enough so when it rains or when you water can penetrate to the soil. We want to keep it light and fluffy so there's air and oxygen, and it can break down and slowly become a part of the soil profile through development of humus, allowing worms and centipedes and different things, the living web, to sort of move through it and turn it over and help it to become food for plants. Because as soon as it breaks down from that humus zone, that's when the roots are sucking it up in the surface feeder roots and getting a lot of nutrition. And you should apply it at least 3 or 4 times a year, depending on your climate. I live in the subtropics, so we do 3 or 4 times a year. In other areas where it's cooler, you'd probably only apply 2 to 3 times a year. And you want to apply it before like certain times, because the insects will be hibernating, some of them, and the good insects, and we want them to be coming out. So we apply it a bit later after you see them starting to appear, because then they've all come out. If you smother them over, you can kill a lot of your good bugs that are sleeping in that mulch. So yeah, we just got to be aware of that timing depending on your seasons. So hopefully that's helped. Great question, and that's a whole video in itself. So yeah, and Jim, hey mate from Ohio, and thank you for joining the Marty's Garden project, mate. I really do appreciate that. And we have got you here, Jim, right there, just underneath me, the host, Cheryl Hucker, and then underneath that is Terry Browning, which 3 members, and you guys, it's just fantastic, because what's going to happen is that will help build the culture, and it really helps me also test piloting there. Lots of things going in there, but we'll keep going with the questions. If anyone wants to talk, we'll talk about that later on down the line. Let's go to the next one. So thank you guys for supporting the Marty's Garden project. It's going to be awesome in there. Lots of courses and things coming up and stuff. All right. Have you gotten more compost bins for your worms? So we've got 250 litres and another one. I think it's a different one that I got picked up. So I think we've got 3 large ones now, and we've got 2 underground worm farms, 2 sub pods, and also around about 6 tiered farms, and some other ones that are just not being used right at the moment. So we've got a fair bit going on there, and we're producing quite a lot, as well as the big worm farms, the 250 litre ones that connected up to windrows now. And we're going to be covering that more in the future, whether that goes into the membership site or onto here, not too sure, because I'm going to be sort of mixing it up sort of in between with 1-2 minute videos in the Marty's Garden project site. where there's going to be a lot of really good information, because you'll be able to comment underneath there and chat with me, and we can even start up feeds on it and different things and really dig deep where we need to. Okay, so what have we got here next? If I miss anything, please forgive me. I do my very best to get them all across. And we've got a big yes. And Cecilia, here we go. I hope I said that right. Good morning. I'm trying a straw bale garden. Have you any issues with graze on in straw bales? No. The material I buy apparently is spray free. No, I haven't had any issues with it. You need to just check. I'm pretty sure graze on you're talking about is that is it a pesticide or something like that? I don't know too much about it. I've been so out of that game now about all of different pesticides and things like that. Anyway, no, I haven't. I am in mid-North Coast, New South Wales. Oh, cool. I lived down at North Haven for a little while when I was displaced from this area because the rents were too high. But now we live in this beautiful home in Mullumbimby here, got a permanent place. So, yeah, beautiful part of the world and similar climate to here. So, yeah, so awesome. We're running a private section in for subtropical people gardening, also in the Marty's Garden project with separate feed in there, which is coming up soon. Aaron Hopkins, perfect. I'll be getting some organic sugarcane mulch. I've been using cheaper grass bales, lots of weeds popping up because of it. Yeah, grass bales can be a problem because you don't know what they're harvesting, how often they're harvesting, what's getting blown in from the outer areas and things like that. So I totally feel you there. If that's happening, then maybe find another provider, or yeah, move into the sugarcane. But for me, it works pretty good. I'm about to buy some more to do some bits and pieces. I use well, up in my permaculture row, I'm using just a hardwood chip underneath a compost, just building soils that way up the permaculture roll. So the wood chip will last a much longer. And what do we got here? I think you missed, Daniel. I'm better off buying. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that, because I can miss some here and there. Daniel Purcell, am I better off putting eggshells in my compost bin in my worm farm or crushed on top of my garden beds? I would recommend, and thank you again, Peace, for that. I would recommend doing both, but just be aware that when you're feeding the worms, they will biodigest it and make the calcium available much more easily. But then we're only using 10% castings into our material. So I would, yeah, if you can grind it up into a fine powder and you're planting things like tomatoes and stuff like that suffer from blossom end rot, which is a rot that gets on the bottom end of the tomato down there, you'll see it go sort of black. It's a calcium deficiency. And early, if it's really bad, the flowers just drop straight off. So yeah, calcium is very important for many different reasons. So yeah, I would do both if you've got enough. Thank you very much for that question. All right, so everyone's loving this. This is really great. Hey Marty, I'm just starting my compost worm farming journey. Love your tip of using wood chip mulch in the worm farm. The worms are loving it and holding great moisture. I think that if you're using the wood chip mulch, I've been successful with it. I'm having more success with my cocoa peat wood fiber pulp now, but I know it's not for everyone. But I think the best way now, if I can expand on that and make that even better, is if you are using wood chip, to just break it down as much as possible and soak it for as long as you can before you put it in, because I found that when you, if it hasn't been pre-soaked or something, or it hasn't got a bit of moisture in it, it's best when it's a little bit sort of like it's got some moisture and it's a bit bendy. You know, you can sort of grab it, you know, sort of like, and it's just, and then after a little bit longer, it starts to split and stuff, and then the bacteria is getting into it, and it probably creates one of the best beddings ever when you're doing that in outside. And yeah, in certain worm farm. But I'm glad it's working for you. So that's just wonderful, Jess. Unreal stuff. Okay, where are we up to? Okay, you need to ask your seller to make sure it's lean. Good answer, the good answer there. We've got another question here from Kyle's Cultivation Farm. What Indian blueworm favorite bedding in your opinion, and what's your opinion on using them as composters and organic waste cyclers? Look, I like all the compost worms. It just depends. Everyone, different climate, different situations. Acina petita, which is the red wiggler, is the most common one because it's just the most prolific and the toughest one. I've got Indian blues. I've got both types of night crawlers. I've got Acina petita. Now, because I do a lot of outdoor stuff in big windrows, my night crawlers go mental. And inside my bins, mostly the blues, Indian blues, and a lot of Acina petita, the tiger worms, which have a little tail on them. So my favorite bedding, I would have to say at the moment, if I was to go back to all the beddings, what is the most simple and the easiest, because everyone, it's different for everyone, but if it was just an all-round broad stuff when I teach in my lessons, I would just say a really good quality cocoa fiber would be one of the best, because it just doesn't have any pH problems, being overly acidic or anything like that. It's fairly neutral. It holds potassium, so it's good for flowering. It lacks calcium. It's good for if you're feeding your worm farm properly and not overfeeding. It does work really well. The one that I've developed with the wood pulp in it, when you can put a bit more food in there, because it just soaks up that nitrogen breakdown really fast. So if people living locally, they can come and get bags of that from me. And we also use it in part of the potting mix with the compost as well. So I would say that cocoa fiber would be my favorite all-rounder. And then it would be probably any type of sort of woody material we can get sort of locked in moisture. The problems that I'm finding with the tiered farms, we put too much in, they just get too heavy. And I'm thinking about everyone. Some people are strong, some people are weak, things like that. So that's another reason why we developed that. So cocoa fiber doesn't get too heavy. It does hold a lot of moisture. Once it breaks down into a worm casting, it gets really heavy. So anyway, hopefully I've answered that question. And worm farmers, compost worms aren't really for big scale composting. You need a tumbler or a big compost system, and then use that to feed your worms and stuff with. People get mixed up thinking, oh yeah, worm farming, they can get rid of all their waste, but you've got to have a lot of worm farms to do that if you've got a big family. We don't feed all ours. Well, I've got to use other stuff, but yeah. All right. Not out getting on it. Grazon is a long-lasting herbicide used on grass and hay farms to get rid of weeds. It's active for about 7 years. Thank you so much, Aaron, for answering that. I love it when the community have answers for me. Have an awesome day, Rick. Thanks, mate, for popping in, and cheers. Okay, 18B saying goodbye, and we've got another good morning here from Down Under Vlogs. Another cool little vlog channel with a series of stuff and some gardening and worm farming stuff. So welcome Down Under Vlogs. And we have, what do we have here? Okay. Aaron, what do you think is the #1 best organic fertilizer you can buy or make yourself? Down and out, it has to be, if you're going to put it under the category of fertilizer, is worm castings. It is just such a broad, all-round fertilizer. Doesn't burn any seedlings. It has biology in it if you don't dry it out too much. It's very nutrient dense, and the plants can consume it quite easily. It works like, it pumps and breaks down slowly, slow release. And yeah, it's just the best as far as I'm concerned. That's just my opinion. There are others, maybe such guano, which is very good, but it's very high in nitrogen, can burn things. Chicken manure is very good, but also can burn stuff. Probably my second favorite would be a weed-free cow manure, because seedlings and things can handle it, and it also has a lot of biology and microbes and things. If the worms come and eat it, the native worms come and eat it, they spread that good microbe through the soil, which can only be found after passing through the worm gut, through the camel gut, then into the worm gut. So yeah, probably my second favorite would be cow manure. All right, let me have a little drink here. Been going for 24 minutes. Oh, that's good. I'm trying to run these shows in half an hour, not run them out too long. All right, let's go here. 18Bs. Question: I put half eggshells into my worm bins And after a few months, when I check them, I find a lot of cocoons packly tight in there with processed material. That's good, right? Yeah, it's very good. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. And from everything that I've heard from what's going on, I think just stick with what you're doing, 18Bs. You're doing it right. Just little fine tuning things now. Don't do anything too extreme. Stick with what's working for you. And yeah, calcium is a really, if you've got those eggshells and you can grind it out really small, awesome stuff. Let's move on to the next one. Are alfalfa pellets good for worm bins? Never tried it, but I'd say so, no problem. I'd say they'd probably really love it, but just give it a really good soaking if you're going to try it, small bit first, and maybe in a little test farm or something like that. I always do that if I'm not sure, but more than likely, I'd say there's not a problem, and I'd say they really love it. So let us know. And we've got, here's Aaron again. Yeah, so thanks for that, Little Country Cabin. Great question. Thanks for that. I love worm castings and worm juice. You're very welcome. I don't think I'm being biased in this way. I think we're looking at organic gardening as the best fertilizer by far. I think it's there's nothing that can compare against it. And I talk a lot about the guano wars in late 1700s, I believe it was, with Europe moving into South America, getting all the guano, and they had composting worms right underneath their nose. And that was all about money and fighting wars for fertilizer when they had the most amazing fertilizer just right at their hand, and a huge waste problem as well. If you look into the history of what was going on in Europe. Here we go. You can buy alfalfa seeds at Bunnings and plant in the garden and chop and drop. Yeah, you could do that. That would be probably, if you got the space to do it, for sure, that would be a good way. I don't know if I've really got the space, but it sprouts so easy, right? Yeah, it's amazing stuff. You could also do, if you get it real cheap, do it in a tray, like a microgreen tray. That's what I do with really cheap old microgreens. I just grow in a microgreen tray, get that high, and just throw the whole lot, all the compost, all this whole lot just in. And they just go mental on that stuff. All right, so if we've got any more questions, we are getting close to 30 minutes now, and we're trying to keep these live shows a bit shorter. We're going to see in the future if we can keep running through. If people are enjoying them, give me a big thumbs up and let me know if you enjoyed before we do go, and let me know in the comments box so I can drag it across and show everyone. Yeah, Ask Marty organic gardening questions, and if it can help you with your gardening, your gardening journey and get better results, and that's what it's all about. You can also dig deeper over at the Marty's Garden community here, and Marty's Garden Community Project, and we've got a feed in here. You can see there's like a little poll there at first. We've got some comments from Cheryl. Cheryl's come in and put herself in there. I'm talking about the next video, which is coming out tomorrow, about I'm growing some tomatoes next to my worm farm there. And yeah, that's out tomorrow. And it's a comparison between the ones that are growing in the ground and the ones that are growing next to the worm farm. And you'd be surprised at the difference. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag yet. So yeah, there's one of the feeds there. And also we have, so that's the community feed. We got Worm Farmers Connect space. We were just getting in there and chatting with a few crew now, chatting with Jim Fisher just recently. He's telling me about his setup and stuff. We've got a chat and connect box so people can come in and chat in there. And then we've got the Worm Farming for Beginners course, which I'm building now. I'm building that out. And we're going to do some exo organics stuff in there as well. And some other courses, maybe some growing tomatoes in pots and different things. So yeah, this is I think this has worked out quite well, and we will just go and before we head off, answer these last few questions. We're on 29 minutes and 13 seconds on my clock. Thanks, mate. Good seeing you. Loved it. Thanks, 18Bs. Love you too, brother. All the best to you. All right, Marty, how are your raised beds going, and what do you have growing at the moment? We're just putting in I just put some corn seed in. We've got some okra growing. We've got some more cucumbers in there. We've got some tomatoes that are just sort of finishing up. They need to be sort of pulled out and moved on. And yeah, I'm replanting out. And I'm going to be documenting A lot of that in the feed area of the Marty's Garden Community Project, what I'm growing now. There'll be quick little 1-minute videos that don't perform so well in YouTube, but we'll be able to put them in there and add value for people that are growing locally or anywhere on the subtropical region of the East Coast. And if they want to come in a bit later, anyway, I won't talk about that too much, but that's what's going on. And also the basil. So we've got lots of basil coming up. And chilies, 3 or 4 different types of varieties of chilies growing as well, and some capsicums. Look, I could just keep going on. We've got moringa and lots of stuff, but yeah, I'm going to be sharing that in bits and pieces. Down Under Vlogs. It's great to have these lives, Marty. We can all learn something new every time. Thanks, Sher. Thank you so much for coming in. And yeah, Down Under Vlogs, Sher. And awesome. So awesome to have you here. If you've come in and you're watching the rerun, please, no question is regarded as silly or stupid or anything. That we're all at different levels of gardening in our life. Leave a question in the comments box. Check the link down below, and also head over and look at the Marty's Garden Community Project. There's it's a free trial, so straight off the rack. It's about the same cost as a coffee a week to get in there, and so there's going to be so much value in there that, believe me, if you want to change your life through organic gardening, that's going to be the space. And I'm mixing it in with this Marty's Garden channel to make it something really, really awesome. And it's actually, before I go, I just want to say this has been my dream to do this. I thought it was going to be internet TV, but internet TV didn't go in the direction that I really thought it would. And we've looked at that, and it's just way too expensive to run. And so we are, this is the model now, and stoked to be here. Just help you guys as much as I can, build community and change lives. All right, have a great everything. God bless, and we'll see you at the next video real soon. Just stoked to have you here. And yeah, who knows? I might be able to even figure out where we can roll the music out at the end like we used to before. It's great to have these lives, Marty. We can all learn something new every time. I think I just put that out before. There we go. Always learning something every day. Thanks, mate. And I learned stuff too in here, which is just absolutely brilliant. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you at the next show. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock, I'm hopefully running out another Ask Marty question, 10 a.m. between 9:30 and 10 a.m. Sydney, Australia time. Just keep an eye open on the clock. It'll be saying when it's getting ready for Ask Me a Question for tomorrow. All right. Bye for now.